Hey guys, so as developers, where is the innovation you should be paying attention to today in 2021, almost 2022? Something I've been talking about for several years now. The true innovation in software development these days is in cloud computing, cloud hosting, advanced hosting, virtualized hosting. This is where all the innovation really is. In terms of writing actual code in the web stack and so on, it's been pretty stable for several years now. So if you're looking around at the technology out there, whether you're working with Node and Express or Java or C#, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's all about the hosting and the cloud. This video is sponsored by EcoEx. This is a live event about cloud computing put on by OVH Cloud. You have participants like Intel, Samsung, VMware, Google Cloud, and others. It's really worth checking out because you have many free discussions about cloud computing, and it has an impact in terms of what you're going to do as a developer. So we check out the agenda. You can select what part of the world you're in so you can attend live. So we go to the Americas. Here's one conference. You have health tech startups share the keys to their success. Another conference here, reinvent your public cloud strategy with OVH Cloud. More events, challenges faced with cloud providers. Strapi, the open source headless CMS. Here's another interesting discussion. Which database for your use case? In search of the Holy Grail. This is something I talk about all the time. You have to choose your database based on the type of project you're working on. Bug bounty, how to get the most out of it, et cetera, et cetera. All kinds of interesting discussions and panels to jump in on. I invite you to check out the EcoEx conference put on by OVH Cloud. One example I like to bring up all the time is how you can use advanced hosting providers who can help you with automatic backups, automatic database scaling. Vertical, horizontal is really easy. Oh, let me explain that. So horizontal scaling is just adding more RAM and CPU to your server when it need be. Now, these days, with virtualized hosting, all you have to do is click a button. Oh, add more RAM, click a button. Add more CPU. It's really easy. In the old days, it was a lot more work. So I used to have my own servers in my place, and then I migrated to co-host location. So I would send a box to a hosting company. They would hook it up to their pipes. And then I would rent a box, rent hardware from people. The problem with all those old school solutions, which people still use today, is that if a piece of the hardware fails, some RAM fails, a disk drive fails, it's a headache. You got to go in there, you got to fix it. Another big headache is if you want to expand it, again, to add more RAM, to add more CPU, it's a problem. It's big, there's migration issues, it's a real headache. These days with virtualized hosting, VPS, unbelievable technology, unbelievable technology. That's just the beginning, by the way. That's just the tip of the iceberg. In the old days, when it came to load balancing, having to deal with heavy load, we had to engineer that into our applications to a large extent. These days, with advanced hosting, you can just fire up the VPS, the virtual private server, add as much RAM as you need, add as much disk space as you need. No big deal. That's the vertical scaling. What's horizontal scaling in databases? With certain companies out there, they're able to provide, more and more companies, the ability to automatically expand the amount of, I guess they would characterize them as nodes in your application. The whole point of horizontal scaling, meaning across, is that you can automatically, with advanced new hosting solutions, move the load from server A to B to C to D, and even dynamically. It's really cool stuff. So if you're concerned about the latest and greatest in software development, be less concerned about the languages and the coding frameworks. They're all pretty stable now. They're all very competitive, whether you're using Python, Django, the MERN stack, even the LAMP stack, .NET, Java, etc. They're all pretty good. They all have their pros and cons, but you can't really lose with any of them because they all share many of the same qualities. These days, you got to be looking at the advanced hosting solutions like cloud computing, etc., because that's where you can find tremendous advances in terms of how you would deploy and even build your apps.